So, welcome everybody. I've been tasked with talking about trading tonight, and it's an honour to actually talk about trading, especially when we've got an honourable guest sitting all the way from South Africa, right in front of all of us. So I'm going to start by, it'll be about 5 minutes, so please bear with me. And I'm going to start with, we've all heard the saying, you reap what you sow. So, you know, how many times have you seen people with the flash cars? Have you seen people with the flash houses? But you have no understanding of what they've had to sow for them to be in that position in the first place. We just see the end result. We don't sometimes see what they've actually done to reap their harvest. Okay, so Corinthians 9:6 reminds us, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. He who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Bountifully, yeah, thank you, love. The law of seed time and harvest operates in every part of our lives. Over the years, I've had many people ask why God is not giving them a promotion or improving their finances where they work. I often begin by asking this question: are you first to be there at work and last to leave? Do you work harder than others around you? If you expect to reap a harvest at work, then sow the right work seeds. Once we truly get this law, we understand that to change in every area of my life, the first thing we need to do is to take a look at what we're sowing into. Market gardeners, just as an example, if you were to see market gardeners or carrot growers from Pukekohe or a place called in New Zealand, Awakuni, where carrots are actually grown, they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. When the temperature in Awakuni, which is close to Wairua, is about -5, -6, they do things where some of us would rather be in bed. And yet, after the seasons have passed, when it's time to harvest those carrots, then they reap what they have sown, which generally is a very huge return on what they have sowed. Okay. Paul says in 2 Corinthians 9:8, and God is able to bless you abundantly in that all things at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. So tonight, what I'm asking every one of us to do is to sow into this man from South Africa who honours us, who gives his special word to us, who is absolutely a blessing to us, to Wanda and myself, and to many others that are online tonight as well. He is a man of God. He is a man that actually brings light to our lives. He's a man who we just love. So I urge you to not sow sparingly. I urge you to sow into this man, into our ministry, so that we can keep having this man online and having this man at our conference and bringing us to new levels where we need to be. Okay? So, just carrying on, getting hold of the law of seed time and harvest as a personal revelation is so important for our long-term financial breakthroughs. Corinthians 9:7, each of you shall give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Oh, if I have to give, I'll just give whatever I need to give because that's what I can afford. No, the Lord wants to challenge us. He doesn't want to make it easy in your life. He challenges us all the time. So you reap what you sow. It's all too easy to allow mindsets we develop through childhood, years, or circumstances we experience in life to box us into leading limited lives. we can so very easily find ourselves in a rut that produces a default negative response to any suggestion of expansion. As soon as you think I can't, you've already sown a seed that has a harvest attached to it. Proverbs 23:7 confirms it, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. So if you come up with an amount, you ask the Lord to come up with an amount, and he gives you an amount, and the first thing you say, oh, I can't do that. Who do you want to listen to? I challenge you in your thinking. I challenge you in your thinking tonight. Negative thinking, seeds fail to produce future gain. Have you realized your words create reality? When God was creating the universe, he spoke in Genesis 1:3, and as his creatures made in his image, our words also have creative power, for good or for harm. As we are told in Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. You can bless people. You can be blessed to be a blessing. Don't believe the lie of the flesh where it says you can't. Yes, you can. Don't sow into things like casinos. Don't sow into things like lottery. There's so many traps out there for us Christians to fall into. When you sow into the life of a ministry, when you sow into the life of a man of God, you will reap what you sow. So I just want to ask Wanda to bring up Hope Ministries bank account. For those who do not know, we're going to just place it on board now, but our details can be found on our website, which hopefully most people are aware of as now. And if you don't, it's
I will show that it's www.hopeministries.org.nz.
okay.
I'll show that in a minute. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll show that again at the end of this session tonight as well. And I hope you have a blessed evening. We certainly have been looking forward to this for a while. This is going to be a two-part message because Etienne is going to be blessing us again this time next week as well, and hopefully we've got the daylight saving thing sorted. Yep. So without further ado, Etienne, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much. Always good to talk to you people there, and always looking forward to the sessions. We're gonna break it up in two sessions, and I'm actually in two minds now because on Sunday I spoke at our church, and I taught on. I had 2 Wednesdays ago, or last Wednesday, I had literally about an 6-7 hour encounter in heaven that I was taken to heaven. But I think maybe we should do that next week. Let me first do that. And because that gave me such a shift in my life, and it opened up so many things in my life. It's one of the greatest ever encounters and things that happened to me. But I think I'll talk on that next week this time. What I want to talk to you guys today on, as we all know in the seasons we are now, if you look at the world and everything that's going on there, it's a lot of chaos. If you look in the natural, I think there's not a lot of hopeful people. There's a lot of questions, people asking, but where is God? Why is he not doing it? Why is it? You had your elections in New Zealand, and I followed it, and I was very excited about some of the new political parties and things there. And at the end you ask, but why didn't they come in? Why didn't they get more seats and all those things? And we ask all these questions. And the reality is we need to start knowing that God is in control. Now the question is always, what have we done? And this is not to come and say now, oh, they did the wrong thing and they did this. Never go there. Never go there. Always start seeing, what can I do to change it? And nowhere in the world have you ever seen in any political system that a new party gets registered and suddenly it becomes the ruling party. It's never happened, ever, ever, ever. Can God do it? For sure. So I want to tell those people that got involved with it, don't give up. Don't give up. This is the first seed that you sown. And with anything that you have sown, it takes time to grow. That is it. The thing now is, what is going to happen with that party now? What are they going to do now about it? Are they still going to persevere? Are they still going to be as active as the ones just before the elections? And then what are you going to do for them in the spirit? Remember, everything starts in the spirit, and what happens in the spirit manifests in the natural. So, yeah, we might touch on that a bit later. But I want to go with all of you to Job 38. And normally when you speak on Job, nobody wants to go there. Nobody wants to read the book of Job because they don't want to go through hard times and they don't want to be cursed and all those type of things. And so the people avoid Job. But I'm going to make a statement this morning. Job is probably one of your greatest blessings ever. There are so many keys in Job that you can spend with the book of Job a few years just meditating on it. There was only a few people in the Bible that had the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding of Job, and that operated in the spirit with creation like Job. If you get to meet Job in the spiritual realms, you'll be blown away of what he knew and what he was. It is absolute. I had many encounters with Job, and when I started working through the book of Job again, I engaged him on numerous occasions, and I was blown away. When we look at the book of Job, in 38, we see a lot of times that it is where God asks questions. It's a lot to do with God asking questions. And every time, if he had to ask me or you that question, you and I will get offended, saying, well, what does he think? What does he think? Why is he asking me all these questions? But you know, the reality is God in Job in 38 asked us questions to remind us who we were, to remind us actually what is our natural and true character. What has been given to us? What is available to us? What can we use to become rulers and reigners here on the earth? How does he speak? How does he do? And what has been given to you? Because you and I got the instruction and everything to rule and to reign. Finished. He gave it to us. And he came to and said to us, I've given you everything. Everything about me you've got. But what does everything look like? What does creation look like? What does rulership look like? I think all of us in the world has got such a limited, call it mindset, vision, idea of what reigning and ruling actually means. We're so one-dimensional, and we need to realize that everything that God created was to work in unity. So that means that everything influences everything. So when you or I speak or we do something, it influences all of creation. All of creation, all dominions, principalities, rulers, reigners, galaxies, everything. So let's start with 38 verse 1. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, there's your first key. The whirlwind. The whirlwind represents chaos, destruction, darkness in normal terms. So When the world is in chaos, destruction, darkness, God is in it. He speaks through it. The question is now, where do you focus? Do you focus on God, or where do you seek him? Because he is in everything. So there's your first chance. When we're in the hard times, the tough times, the persecutions, the troubled times, where do you see God? And the first place is seek him in the darkness. Don't get a religious thing. Now I'm going to sit in my chair and I'm going to try and enter into the glory and I'm going to look for this. And we come up with rituals and things. He's in the darkness. He's next to you. He's with you. You in him. So it's literally to come into that place, into myself, and seek him, because you're in the darkness with him. You're in that whirlwind with him, and you're in unity with him. He says it in his word, I hide myself in the darkness. So he's in the whirlwind. What I tend to see is that we got so caught up in our ways and our habits and traditions by hearing the voice of God. If you speak to some people, they'll tell you, but Etienne, he speaks to me in a voice when I sit on my chair and I do this and then I do that and then I hear him, see him. Everybody's got a certain way that God speaks to them predominantly. And a lot of times you speak to people about their circumstances and the things, and they'll say, but the Lord has not spoken to me. I haven't heard a thing. I'm waiting on him. Let me tell me, you're going to wait forever. You're going to be like Lazarus in the flipping tomb. You're going to wait forever till somebody calls you out of there or shakes you out of there. God speaks through everything. And especially now in this season, we need to try and hear his voice, his sound, see his face in everything around you. Don't just get set on a certain way and tradition. So now the Lord asked him, who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? I want to ask you today, where do you get your counsel from? This is so important what the Lord asked him there. Who darkens words of counsel without knowledge? And you and I, as sons of God, are supposed to counsel people within a position of knowledge. Now, that is so important. Where are you seated? Are you seated in knowledge? Are you participating with one of the seven spirits of God, which is knowledge, and with the Holy Spirit? And out of that position, you advise, you counsel people. Or are we looking in the natural, looking at their circumstances in the natural, and then we counsel? Or some people with amazing people, with great hearts, great love, loves the Lord, but they counsel out of their compassion. They counsel out of their love, which is great. The positioning of their hearts are right, but it's not positioned in the words of God, in his knowledge. And that is what we need to look at. Where do we get our counsel from? So it also has a thing to do with, who do I align myself? Who do I walk to? Where do I get my accountability, my responsibility from? Who speaks into my life? All those type of things are those people that counsel me, are they pursuing God? Are they lovers of God? And do they counsel me out of that knowledge of God? And that's why you and I can never come to a place where we think we've made it. We are so close to God. We know the Spirit. We can move here and do this and jump on the stars and do all these crazy things, and we've got it. No. To counsel a person out of God means I need to seek his face every time, the whole time, 24 hours, because I need to get the greater knowledge. Because remember, you're going to counsel people that's been chosen by God in higher places to do higher things. And so you have to have the knowledge of all realms and all dominions and everything, places of rulership. So counsel and out of wisdom of knowledge is so important. Now the Lord comes and said, "Gird up now your loins like a man, and I will demand of you, and you declare to me." Gird up your loins, strengthen yourself. Your loins is this nice, it's seen in the body as the most powerful part of your body. It's seen as the part, and let's close our religious spirit, where your sex organs are, that creates life. That's part of your loins, where power comes from. So God says, come on, man, stand up now, gird up your loins, come step into the power of me and come and give life with me. That is so important. Like a man, and I will demand of you, what God says, I demand of you. Now, you and I will only take demands from people who we trust, who we know, who we love, who we've got a relationship with. If I just to come in now and demand this and all these crazy things, you're not going to do it, because we haven't had that close relationship with everybody, and we don't know each other's hearts really and characters and natures. The same with God. People, we can declare how many times how much we love him. But if we don't really know, have the knowledge of him, his character, his nature, and have encounters with him and see his face and hear his voice and see his faithfulness, it's going to be a tough thing for us. And then he says, and you declare to me. Why do we declare to God? Because when we declare to him, what do we declare? And that is a big thing that you need to ask yourself. Let's take this day. What have you declared today? And is it God's plan and purpose? Because if you declare his things to him, his plan, you just become an echo of his plan. It is done. Your word, it doesn't fall on the ground. It is done. And that is a big thing. All of us decree and declare, I hope so. I hope so that all of you decree and declare and prophesy over your lives. But how many of it really comes to fulfillment? Because most of the time, it's decreeing, declaring according to our plans and not his plans. So what happens when we decree and declare? If you look at the Aramaic, the Hebrew, the Greek, it actually means you are engraving it. So you're putting an eternal value to it. So now what the God says, he asks you the question, he demands you to decree and declare it. Why must you do it? Why doesn't he come and do it? God created the heavens and the earth, everything for 6 days. He rested the seventh day. Why did he rest on the seventh day? Because man had to take over the reign and the rule. He did his thing, and now it's the responsibility of man to conclude everything that he decreed and declared. That's why you're at relationship with God. Before you were in the mother's womb, I knew you, I had relationship with you. There he revealed everything to you. Before the foundation of the world, he laid the foundations by his declarations, commands, declaring, decreeing, and creation. And from the seventh day, it was handed over to man. So now we decree and declare what he showed us, what he commanded us, what his plans are, so that we remind ourselves as well what we saw. And that's the same thing that comes in that he says, remind me of what I promised you. Remind me. What's actually reminding you, so that you can take up your position, authority, and power. Okay. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Listen how clever God is. I love it. Where were you at the foundations of the earth? He comes and he reminds you, you were part of it. You were part of the creation. You were participating. How can I say I was participating? But I'm in him. Everything of creation is in God. So when God decreed and declared and prophesied and spoke creation, you were part of it. You were a witness. Listen, I want you to think about it. I want you to realize you were witnessing creation. That's why you've got power and authority. When you're a witness of something, nobody can steal it from you. It's not hearsay. It's not David or Wanda or Etienne or Alison or whoever told me about it. It's I've seen it. So now if I declare it, it must be done because it is in spirit and truth. Now this is where it comes in. I was within with creation. I saw perfection. I am responsible to bring everything back to that time before Adam and Eve sinned, to perfection. So what is my excuse? Why is it not happening? And that is the thing is, do we declare and decree, do we go back to that position of where we were before the foundation of the earth? Do we operate out of the natural position where we are now, or are we there in the beginning? That is so important that you see. Do you see yourself? Have you tried to go back to that position? Because if you're in God, remember, you're with him in the beginning and the end. You yesterday, today, and tomorrow. You're in all time zones. You're above times. Immediately, if you start seeing yourself before the foundations of the earth, you've positioned yourself above everything. You're above time. So you can move to and fro. You can move to and fro, up and down on the earth. You see, this is what God comes here to Job and he reminds him, and he does it so clearly. Ask him the question, answer that to me. So why? So that Job can speak it out. So what happens when he speaks it out? Lord, I've been with you before the foundations of the earth. I participate with it. What happens? Everything, body, soul, and spirit gets enlightened and activated again, gets reminded of where it was. And what happens? It creates a desire in you to be back in that position, to operate from a position, because it was full of glory, full of joy, fun, peace, rest, everything. It was glorious. You see how clever God is? And this is a good key to all of us, to minister unto people. When people go through difficult times, is to start asking them questions so that they could actually remind themselves where and what and when and how. Declare to me if you have and no understanding. Now he says, tell me, do you understand everything? So understanding's been given to you because the fullness of God is there. God is already, Jesus said, it's been crucified before the foundations of the earth. And after the crucifixion, you got reunited. So the seven spirits of God has been given to all of us. Understanding's been given to you, but do you understand understanding? Do you know what understanding is? To give you in the, let's say it in a Jewish and Hebraic version, knowledge, or not knowledge, wisdom is a picture. To put you in a picture now, wisdom sees the full expression of God's plan. So it sees one picture from the beginning to the end. It sees the whole journey. It sees the glory at the end, sees in between, it sees the beginning. So it knows what God wants to achieve. Understanding comes and takes that picture and breaks it up into lots of frames, seasons, times, and then everything, there's a reason, a purpose, and how it must work and what needs to be done for the next thing to happen. If I can put it in this way, when wisdom looks at us, she looks at all men, if they look at us on this session today, wisdom will see all of us like one soul, like one person, all together in unity, because that's God's plan. That's the end thing. Everybody comes together in one. Work together, do everything together. It's going to be amazing. Understanding comes and sees each and every one as an individual. So what do we need? God asked him now, declare to me if you have and know understanding. So what is understanding part of? Do you know the seasons and the times? Do you know my plans for this day? Do you know my purpose for this? Have you got the understanding and why I am doing it? So I've got wisdom showing me the plan. So now I get the understanding what to do to achieve that plan, to get the full picture. And that starts in your own life. It's not for what is God for nation? What is it? If it doesn't start in your own house, you can't have authority and power to rule over a nation. Have you got the understanding of your day? Have you got the understanding of the season and of your own life? That's where it firstly starts. Then he says to him in verse 5, he asks him another question. Who determined the measures of the earth, if you know, and who stretched a measuring line upon it? Aha. Do you know the measures of the earth? Do you know all the lines upon the earth, how the earth is broken up in blocks, the latitude lines and all those lines and things? Do you know it? Do you know the lines that you are falling in where you stay? Because those lines play a big role. God broke the earth up in segments and dimensions. And each and every segment and dimension has got a purpose, it's got an anointing, has got a role to play to bring unity. And this is so important, especially for intercession. So what happens with all these lines around the earth, the latitude lines and the lines coming around everything, they form blocks, and those blocks are supposed to be building blocks of the earth, fiery, burning ones. So it's your and my purpose to take that block that you fall in, your country or your county or your province, whatever you call it, to make that a fiery burning one, because it comes a fiery burning block of all of creation. That's part of intercession. That is part of your decreeing and declaring. So there he asked him, do you know who did this? Yes, Lord, you did it, but I was doing it with you. So why did you neglect it afterwards? Why didn't you do anything with it? You see how amazing creation is. And the thing how amazing God is, it's not now up to you and me to do some physical labor. It's just by sitting and looking at it and speaking it. Do we know those lines? And who stretch a measuring line upon it? Now we listen to it's sad to say, if you take the occult, and especially in this month of October and Halloween and things coming up, it's crazy out here with us in the spirit. They make use of all those lines. If the real big satanic guys are moving in the spirit to and fro on those lines, they travel the earth, reigning and ruling and controlling it. They shouldn't be there. You and I should be seated above it and release so much fire and glory upon it that they can't move on it. But we became too religious and we became too self-centered in our lives. And we just want to rule over our own lives. We're supposed to rule over all of creation. Okay. If you look at in the scriptures as well, when they asked the angels or they asked the devil, where were you? And what did he answer? God, I moved to and fro on the earth. He moved on the ley lines. He moved on the ley, call it like they're part of their ley lines. Those are our lines. Those are our pathways, our highways to move on. to be restored in glory. So they know the spiritual aspects, but we should know it so much better. Okay. Then he says, upon what were the foundation of it fastened, and who laid its cornerstone? On what was the foundations of the earth fastened, and who laid the cornerstone? What I actually asked him, Job, who's your foundation? Who's your cornerstone? The thing is, are you and I seated in that foundation? I'm going to share with you an encounter I had probably 4 years ago, around about 4 years ago. I was in heaven and I was stepping out of the throne into the river. And I walked in the river with Jesus, and the next moment he told me to stand still. And suddenly I started elevating, but something came under my feet and I just started lifted up out of the water. And it was a black, shining, amazing rock with the most amazing sound and things being released. You can't describe it. There are no words for me to describe it. And next moment, the rock came and it grew around me that I was inside of. I was totally enclosed in this rock. And then this rock started speaking and said, do you know who I am? I just said, I don't know, but I think I knew, but I was afraid to talk. And he said, I am is around you. I'm your foundation. And then he showed me a black diamond. He's a full on, it looked like a massive black diamond, and you, this little being inside of it. And he said, that is what you are. You in me. When you're in me, you're in the foundation. And your building, your temple can never fall. Stay in me. And that was an amazing encounter. And that is the thing that I remind myself a lot of times when you get persecuted or whatever, and gossip, slandered about you, that you remind yourself, who is your rock? And which foundation? And then, who is your cornerstone? A cornerstone is not what we think in a square building and is there in the corner, one of the building blocks is Jesus. A cornerstone is actually your covering. It's in the biblical times, the cornerstones where the roof come together in the middle, where they are arced upon, where they are resting on. The thing that keeps a roof, a covering together, that's where the cornerstone is. It's not what we thought in the biblical times. It's in the corner of my house and on the floor. No, a cornerstone is actually your covering. So what happens now? He asked Job, who's your foundation and who's your covering? What happens now? You are fully covered, fully immersed by God. You're in the center of Him, in the middle of the two, and you are consumed by glory. You get the release of the fullness of glory, the sound, the frequency, the vibration from heaven. You're in peace and you rest and joy. You're in a place of authority. And let's say you've got a tough day. That's what you need to look at and remind yourself, wow, look where I'm actually in. That's a biggie, because that immediately brings you in a place of peace and rest, and immediately your frequencies, everything changes, and you become a person of influence, changing all the atmospheres. Okay. Verse 7, it says, when the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Where were you when the morning stars shouted together and all the sons shouted for joy? You were there. Because in heaven and creation, it was a celebration. The question now is, are you still celebrating? Do you still remind you? Do you still ask God to show you those times and those places? That's why He sent us a bright and early morning star. And what happens now? He reminds us that creation has been created to participate with you. Because this morning star shouted and with joy with the sons of God. So what it declares to you, said, you and I need to come back to that place where we get all of creation to celebrate and to shout with us, to release heaven, the frequencies, the sound, the vibrations of heaven. Because the more we start shouting out, the more the glory of God is going to fall. Here it comes to us and said, who shut up the sea with doors when it broke forth and issued out of the womb? Aha. Who shut up the sea with doors? Let's take the earth. 80% of the earth is probably water. I would go so far and say 90% of the earth's water has never ever really been, how could I put it, researched yet. People haven't really got a clue what's in the depths of the waters. But now God comes and said, who shut up the doors? And I'm going to ask you and answer yourself. Did you know the seas and the waters have got doors and gates? Why are they shut up? Because water is supposed to be a sign of the Holy Spirit. It's supposed to be a river flowing of life. But where's Leviathan living? In the water. Who shut up the gates and the things of the waters? Leviathan and all the demonic powers. What's supposed to be glory created fear, because man doesn't want to go into the depths of the waters of fear of what's waiting there. But those are places where we're supposed to be ruling and reigning. Those are places which we are supposed to go and to redeem, because if you imagine the waters, which is 80% of the earth, if you had to redeem that, how easy the whole earth, all the continents will be redeemed. There's no ways it will be able to stand against the glory of God. But have you ever done something about it? And there are gates of waters in your nations and everything, in your rivers, in your dams, and your lakes. Who controls those gates? And that's a big thing for intercession again. When you want to redeem a city or a town or whatever, the waters needs to be redeemed. The gates needs to be opened again. Glory needs to be positioned. So it's a lot of trading and things that needs to happen in those places. That is so, so, so important. And when it broke forth and issued out of the womb, now you must ask yourself, the waters that are issued right now, out of what womb do they come? What are they birthed out of? Are they birthed out of light, or are they birthed out of darkness? These are technical things, but actually just basic rulership things for all of us. That's why God asked these questions, because they are important. What does he do when he asks the question? He is releasing keys, mysteries, powers to us, to tell us what needs to be done, what needs to be attended to restore glory. And it starts in our own lives first, because your body is full of water. There's so many versions. Most people say it's 76%, some say it's 75, some 77. It's in the 70s. Let's call it that way. That's why it's so. What births the waters in you? What gates in your waters and your cells are shut, which are open? What are shut? What happened in your life? What trauma, what adversary, whatever happened in your life shuts gates in your own body. That's why some people don't get the fullness of healing. Some people can't really see and hear properly, because some of those gates are shut up in the wombs. Okay, we're not going in there now. Verse 9 says, when I made the clouds the garment of it, and thick darkness a swaddling band for it. God created the clouds. And how do you look at the clouds? Every cloud has got a message. Every cloud is part of the garment of God, of the Holy Spirit, because a cloud is a covering, something above. And you need to receive from it. You need to receive the message, the key, the mystery. And what is amazing is, and darkness, a swaddling band for us. Why? Because God is in the darkness. What do we see? When we see dark clouds or things about it, we run. We don't engage it. Instead of, wow, there's a key hidden in that darkness for me. A mystery. It's a hiddenness for darkness, but it's for my eyes to see. People, you see how you can use, that's why you use creation to reign and to rule with you. Remember, I've said it before on a session as well, in Genesis 1, where God created everything and he told the sun, the moon, the stars, everything, you must rule. He gave us his instruction to us as man was to rule over creation. What actually means is creation must participate with you. So clouds must participate with you. Let's go a little bit supernatural. That's a reality. Everything must participate with you because you, the king, they must support you. God even used people in the old time, Joshua, all of them, they used the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth to rule and to reign, to have victories, everything. God commanded clouds. He commanded things to happen. Why don't we do it? Because we're so afraid to be labeled as crazy. We're so afraid that people tell us, you're not called, or you are new age, or whatever. God created everything for you and to glorify him. You need to become that testament. We need to look at things and ask, why did God create clouds? Why did he create trees? Why are there walls? What can I do with it to glorify God? What can they do for me so that we can glorify God? Let's take your house where you're sitting now. Your walls, what are they doing for you? I'm not talking about protecting you against the weather. What are they doing for God? What sound are they releasing? What frequency are they releasing? Have you seen God's face in them? The reality is when you look at your walls now, you're supposed to be able to prophesy straight away because there's a message. See, that's how lovers of God work. They see God in everything and he reveals himself through and in everything. Okay. Verse 10. And marked for it my appointed boundary and set bars and doors. In what boundaries are you working right now in this season? What are the boundaries of this season for you? Because your boundaries will be set according to your authority, will be set according to your maturity that you walk in. What is your maturity? What are the boundaries? That means, where can I access? Where can I go up in the spirit to rule and to reign with? Where's my mandate for now? My appointed boundary. What is your appointed boundary? So what is God's appointed boundary, let's say for today, for the season? What did he tell you? And set bars and doors. So what did he put? Where are there doors? Which doors can I go through? Where can I set up bars to avoid darkness, for darkness not to come. And where can I go and set up bars to put darkness into captivity? People, this is rulership. Remember, you're a king. I want you, when I talk about all these things, to look at yourself as a king, to start thinking like God, thinking like a king. Like if I had to rule and reign over everything, what would I put in place? Who would I give access through certain doors, through certain places? Who would I put in captivity? Everything. You need to think like that, because that is part of whom you are and what you're supposed to do. You're not just going to allow anybody to go through any of your doors, to walk into your private places, your bedrooms and things, if you don't know that person, if you don't trust that person. Remember that. And why do we expect God to do it? You see, we've got a religious thing. Don't worry, do what you go wherever you want. God is there. No. You need to know He's appointed boundaries, doors, and bars, places for your life. Where am I now? So this should motivate you, because He is the door. He's everything. So the more mature we get, the more He can trust us, the more He opens up all those places, and He gives you increase. As we grow in maturity and stature in His character, we get increase. That's a biblical principle. That's a principle even today in the natural. So look at that, at my maturity that we are walking in. In verse 11 he said, thus far shall you come and no further. And here shall your proud waves be stayed. Now what does it tell Job? Job, at this stage, this is how far you shall go, till you get rid of your pride. Pride is one of the biggest pitfalls of every person. You must remember, if you want to be a great king, a leader, a ruler, you need servanthood and you need humility. Without those two characteristics, you can't become a great leader. If you look at Satan, Ezekiel 28 said, you traded on the platforms of pride, and that's why you're getting thrown out of heaven. What is pride? Pride is every time you make a decision above God's decision. You make your own decision. So pride is sin. Pride is the root of sin. What happens when you sin is you rejected God and you did your own thing. That's basically what sin is. You know what I actually love it, but it's a tough one. The Hebrew people says, sin is everything that you do that takes the perfection of creation away. That takes the perfection of what it was before Adam and Eve sinned. That's a tough one, but that's a reality. Because what did we do? We proclaimed and did our own thing instead of doing God's thing. So pride is the thing that you always need to be aware of, and not a lot of people know it. Pride is, I'm not learning from that person that just got saved today. What does he know? He's just a newborn baby. Pride is, I see myself much higher than everybody else because I see and I hear in the spirit and I move in all these dimensions, so I can't learn from everybody that doesn't move there. That's pride. And that's a dangerous place. And that's why a lot of times, that's why you see at a lot of conferences and places, people will take word from the speaker or whatever. And if somebody else says exactly word by word that same thing, they don't take it from that person. I've seen it so many times all over the world that you say something and then, yeah, thank you, and they walk away. And then the big name out there says something and they fall on their faces in awe and amazement. But that person has just said exactly word by word what you've said. So that is pride. Always listen to people, even if they're unsaved. Really make it. God listens to everybody's voice. Who are we not to listen to everybody? It's so important. Verse 12. Have you commanded the morning since your days began and caused the dawn to know its place? Now I want you to answer yourself now. I know what I see now in the Spirit there upon each and every one. Have you commanded this day? Have you commanded the position of the dawn? That is one of the biggest keys you can ever get. How you command the day, how you instruct the day, how you instruct the dawn and your night. The dawn is a preparation time for your night. If the dawn is not instructed to perfection and what to do for you, you're not going to have all these amazing encounters and things as you are supposed to have. Your rulership in the day is going to be affected if your day has not been instructed all the different things to participate with you, to help you, to assist you in your rulership. People, that's a key thing. Do yourself a favor in the morning. Do it. And now I want to give you a key, and I'm talking out of my own experiences. It is not that I have to go now, and now I've got to speak for 2 hours in tongues, and then I've got to do this, and then I do all my religious acts, and then now suddenly with this loud, holy voice, son, you better do this, and command the day. It's literally sitting outside, looking at the mountains, saying, with your cup of coffee, because you're the king, and you instruct everything that you see is God. It is literally going in that seat of peace and rest. It is like hanging out with Jesus. See what he shows you, what he tells you, and you instruct it. It's having fun. People must learn to have fun. To be a ruler and a king, to instruct and to reign and rule is not this religious act that our voices suddenly change and now we're a different person and because we want to show the world we are kings. No, being yourself, having fun. You're in God. I don't have to shout. I don't have to do everything. It just comes out and it's fun. You see things change. You see things move in the Spirit. You see the angels going out and setting things right for the glory of God. But you must do it. You must know, what is my purpose of the day? What is on my scroll? What does God say on my purpose, my duty for the day? Because you instruct creation to participate with you to fulfill your part of what you need to do for the day, for the body of Christ. Because everything God does, he'll give every one of us an instruction, a commandment for the day. But if you take everybody's put it together, it's one perfect piece of glory. So if you and I don't instruct the day and the dawn, we're stealing from other people. Because the fullness of glory can't come into wholeness. It's like a piece of a puzzle or a segment of a circle. We're keeping that piece away. Verse 13, so that light may get hold of the corners of the earth and shake the wickedness of night out of it. Love it. I love it. When you start commanding, remember, everything gets filled with life. What does the word say? Where God moves, heaven and earth shakes. Where light moves, heaven and earth shakes, darkness flee. So when you command the day and the dawn, it shakes all of creation. Wickedness exposes itself because it can't stay in darkness. Then you destroy the wickedness. You know what is keeping glory away. How easy is that? I didn't go for 20 or 30 sessions of counseling. I just looked and instructed. I let the earth shake and the heavens shake. I just came into unity with light. If you speak to Enoch, what did Enoch do? He said, I kept my eyes on the light, on God, all the time. Darkness cannot come close me, cannot consume me, can't do anything. They fled, they feared me. He didn't go and speak in tongues and shouted and carried on and fight the darkness. He just went into peace and rest in God, focused on light. You see how amazing it is. So that light may get hold of the corners of the earth and shake the wickedness of night out of it. Because what is the normal thinking about night? Oh, there's a lot of evil at night. Yeah, that's what the people think. So we empower evil by our thoughts. So we have given night, darkness, authority to rule and to reign. Watch out at nighttime, because this and this is going to happen, and that's when the thieves are acting, and this is when the devil is busy. And so we declare and decree it. So we actually become partnerships of darkness. No, nighttime should be glory. I hide myself in the darkness. My glory is in the clouds of darkness. My throne is in the clouds of darkness. So nighttime should be like a huge fire display for you. It should be fun to all of us, because, wow, we're going to see the revelation of glory tonight. But that you instructed the dawn to prepare the night for you and I to see the glory. Very important. Verse 14. It is changed like clay into which it is changed like clay into which a seal is pressed, and things stand out like a many-colored garment. I love it. What is the revelation of that? Have you thought about it? Or should I rather ask, has some of you read this Job chapter? Because normally Job doesn't get read. It changed like clay into which a seal is pressed. He's the potter. We are the clay. When we become clay, it means when we start surrendering into God, allow Him to form us, His seal, His DNA, His thumbprint gets pressed on us. How amazing. What happens now? Now the devil looks at us in the spirit and he sees the seal of God on us. Power, authority, dominion. He's got no rulership over you. The key is there to allow him to form you, to have his ways, because you are marked by God. You are set apart by God. It says, and things stand out like a many-colored garment. Why? When you are marked and sealed by God, it means I am clothed by Jesus Christ. What is Jesus Christ? He's a garment of many colors. He's got billions and trillions, unending dimensions in him. And you are clothed by that fullness. Now, the question is, does the devil see that and recognize you like that in the spirit? And that is a journey that all of us are on, and we need to learn how to surrender and to allow God. Many times we allow God just to work in certain dimensions of us, and when it's hurting a bit, we hold back. I'm not ready for that. No, just be ready and get it over. That's the key. Just go through it, because out of your hurt comes glory. Believe me, you're greater. I see somebody ask what translation. It's Amplified that somebody asked it. Yeah, reading out of the Amplified translation. You are a many-colored garment. So don't go and ask the Lord for this garment. You've got it. You are clothed in it. You need to see it. You are a many-colored garment that you are clothed in. So you are clothed in the fullness, the absolute fullness of glory. That's an amazing place, amazing thing to think about. Wow, if people look at you in the spirit, you are shining, you are blinding them. Darkness can't even face you. We had a lot of times in this last 2 weeks, especially now with Halloween and everything happening, that people are going through such difficult times, and the spiritual realm is crazy. I know my wife Hetty and I, even on the outside of our house, we'll see in the past week, nearly daily, satanic people astral traveling to our house, that you literally see them. And that is just crazy. And then this is where we should go. We should stand in that position where you open up your chest to reveal your breastplate, that it blinds them. That you show them your garment, that it blinds them, that they don't want to come there. And that the wickedness and things will just run away. That is where we need to go. Now, that is all about your position. What do you engage? Do I engage them? I don't even waste my time speaking to them. I just reveal God to them, and they have to flee. That's that thing, and we spoke about it a few times already in the past week, where Smith Wigglesworth, and I think most of you know the story, he slept one night, and the next moment he felt something on his bed, and at the end of the bed at the corner, the devil was sitting there in the natural. Now, believe me, he appeared to me once. You get a fright, believe me. And Smith sat up, he looked at him and said, "Oh, it's only you," and he turned around and he slept on the other side. He did not go and speak in tongues and throw fire and break curses and all those things. He just ignored him, and he got seated back into light so that the devil had to move. You don't surrender your position. You don't even have to engage. He has to go because you reveal glory, light to him. Verse 15, from the wicked, their light is withheld, and their uplifted arm is broken. Oh, I love it. So if you're out of God's will, if you're not saved, reborn, born from above, all those things, terms, God will take your light away. What does he say? You will not be a life-giving spirit. You will not reign and rule. Your uplifted arm will be broken. So if your arm is lifted, you can't stand like this when your arms are broken. Why is this a sign? Outstretched arms. It's a prophetic act. Because when you stand like this, you are king over all of creation. You are releasing glory and light and life over all of creation. What happens when I say, because I am clothed then, let's put it, remember how those clothing worked. And when you clothe with God, it means that you are releasing the garment, many colored garment of God over all of creation when you uplifted arms. You're covering it. But when my arms are broken, I can't cover the earth with God. So being in light, I'm in that position where I stand with outstretched arms so that I can cover all of creation with the glory of God. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go up to there for today. Yeah, from next time we'll go to verse 16, and I might share some of the other things that I encountered. Any questions?
Etienne, if you're okay, I'd just like to do another shofar blast on your words. So that is, if that works with you. So if everybody can just close their eyes and just meditate on some of the words that Etienne's shared with us. Yes, we'll do a quick answer session, but I just want to just lock and seal that word that he's actually brought to us tonight. So let's close your eyes. Thank you, Father. Wow, that's really good. Thank you, Father. And just let that play just about 30 more seconds. Just keep your eyes closed. Thank you, Etienne. We seal all those words that you have shared with us. I just want to do a quick summary as well, so that remember, you reap what you sow, and I just encourage you to trade on any particular word that Etienne has shared with you, to trade on that and seal it and unlock the financial blessings over your life. So I've got a few things. So it's basically, and Etienne, you can certainly correct me if I've missed anything, but I'm not that very good at totally, writing things down, but please bear with me, everybody. So wisdom is a picture from the beginning to the end. Every time there is a reason for everything. Do you know my plans for this day? Yeah. Do we know the measures of the earth? Pocono's latitude, Wanda wanted me to write down because that's really important. Speaking it out. So we are what our tongue says.
Well, we speak in God's words.
Yep.
So, yeah.
We want to rule over our own lives. Who is your rock? This is one that has really ministered to me on my heart. And the question is, who is your rock? Who is your cornerstone? Is it money or is it God? The waters need to be open again. Every cloud has a message. Wow, I love looking at the clouds. I don't know about you guys. I look at that cloud and every cloud is different. So I'm never going to look at another cloud the same ever again. Cloud is the covering of God. God said to rule over creation. We shall see gold in everything. God in everything.
Like the walls release messages.
Yeah, like the walls release messages. Look at yourself as a king.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a new one as well. How many of us wake up and see ourselves as, well, it's only me in the mirror? Etienne's word is, look at yourself as a king and you will see your life totally different every day.
Just more life, no? That's too much.
Couple more.
I've got many questions.
Yeah. Pride is one of the biggest pitfalls in ministry. That is a really important message for us all. Every time you make your own decision, then you are not living in the realms of the Lord. Yeah. Pride, another word of pride is to see yourself much higher than everyone else, which again is absolutely a really important message. Always listen to people, even the unsaved. Now that is a real big one for all of us, I think, because some of us think, well, I've been in the ministry 25 years and this guy's only been saved for 2 weeks. How does he know what he's talking about? but I know the Lord works in all ways. He works in mysterious ways. Go to his seal of rest, a seat of rest, sorry. And what is your purpose this day? Command the dawn is a big key. Come into unity of light. We empower evil by our thoughts. Let the seal of God be on us. You see lots of bikies have a tattoo over their arm, and you know that's for everybody to know who they are with, who they belong to. How about we let the seal of God be seen by others over us? So, and the last one is show them your garment of a breastplate for others to see your strength. So I urge you, if there's one of those particular summaries, I hope I've done that justice for you, Etienne. I don't feel I have, but I've just written those down, and I thought those were very good messages, and I just urge everybody to sow into that as well. Okay, so if we could open it up for questions. Please don't be shy, because you'll never get this time back in your life again. So
I have a question.
Yeah. Let's go.
Hi, Etienne. I'm
Hi,
Melissa. I'm
Hi.
living in California, originally South African via New Zealand.
Oh, good.
I have so many questions, but I think a few questions I'd like to ask you is, I think, and I know that I struggle with pride a lot. And what are some ways that I can grow in humility and not partner with pride, or like tools that you used, or just anything like that?
Melissa, the big thing there is what I tell people, we have to face it and we have to step into it. So is whenever, let's say, you have an engagement or meeting or a coffee date with somebody and you know, oh man, this person has such a challenge, this person knows nothing, thinks everything, and then you go and position your heart. Lord, give me a humble heart, and you ask for humility as something that I ask the Lord every day. When I got saved, he told me, you will ask me every day of your life for more love and for more humility. Every day. So I do that because of what God, remember now, when God tells you something like that, it's because of what he wants to do through you. And we can't expect to walk in the high places and we pride, because then we're in big trouble. So what you do then, what I do, let's say I sit with somebody and I know this person really knows nothing. Then Lord, then I position myself by visualizing God is standing with me right here. He's right with me now. How would I react upon that person if he was in the natural, in the physical with me? Big thing. That changes your whole mindset, because the way you speak to that person is totally different. And then when I'm finished with the meeting, I bless that person. I bless them even with greater things that you might have. Lord, everything that you've given me, I ask that you bless that person a double portion. Give him double. Let him become this powerful instrument for you. And that is how you reap it. But the big thing for me is by looking and reminding myself, God's watching over me now. I'm representing him. And I visualize it like he's there in the natural. I see his body. And then it changes. But that's the thing you have to face. It's a journey. It's a journey.
So it's a journey, and you'd say partnering with humility every day and treating people with honor. Yeah,
absolutely. Remember, love and honor are the currency of heaven. And if we can't walk in that, we're in trouble.
Okay. And then another question I have is, I'm a student at a ministry school, and I'm in my third year. And so I have, I'm training. It's more of like an apprenticeship. So I have a lot of students that I look after, and I found that I have a very compassionate heart, and so I tend to kind of give advice and counsel via compassion and love rather than like the counsel and the knowledge of God. And I'm just wondering again if you could give me some like tips of how you partner with counsel and wisdom and knowledge when you're meeting with people, because I need help.
Yeah, that's fine. Love and compassion is a very good, it's a must-have. If you want to counsel and things, people, if you can't minister out of love and compassion, there's something wrong. So there you've already won the thing 80%. Well done with that.
Okay.
But now is to listen, to remind what I do. When I sit with people, I remind myself, remember what I'm going to speak upon that person, now it's going to happen. There's a consequence. What would God tell this person now? Because I'm his voice. I'm actually, when I sit and speak to Melissa now, is I must say, this is God saying this. I'm representing him, because I don't want to disappoint that person. I don't want to hurt that point, because what's going to happen if I come to a person and they see, let's say they see Melissa now as this counselor, this king of God that is sent, whatever she says, it's done. It's yea and amen. And it doesn't happen. They will say, you're God. They immediately affect the kingdom and the view of God that people have. So what I remind myself, what would God tell that person now? Because I'm supposed to release his words. And just by reminding me, and if I'm not sure about something, I tell a person, listen, let me just go and pray into this. I don't just want to give you counsel, or let's just be quiet for a few seconds. Let me just pray, and then I release. Don't be shy to say, listen, I don't know right, and let me just pray. Don't be, that's where we make a lot of mistakes. We try and always, at least we need to say something and do something. No. It is just, let's say, listen, Melissa, I don't know right now. Let's just close our eyes now. Let's just pray and wait on the Lord till he tells, okay, let me tell you, this is what I hear. Okay. Be humble enough to do that.
Okay. Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I'm studying in a school, and I've got like a lot of stuff going on, and you were talking about going out and doing this and calling in this and doing that, and I'm just like, I just feel so overwhelmed with like school stuff and what you're saying, and I'm like, I don't know what to kind of do. Okay. So if, out of everything you said that we should do, like to do things and activate in the supernatural, what would be one thing that you would say is the most important, or like very important, that I should?
You need to draw boundaries.
Boundaries.
Don't think that you need to be everywhere and be involved and do everything. That is why you need to know, this is my portion. This is what I must engage. That is what I do. Can I tell you something, Melissa? We spoke about a lot of things, and it sounds, and you think, where in this day am I going to get time to do all these things? That's the reality. And everybody of us sometimes think that, I've got to do all this. I've got to rule, I've got to reign, I've got to do this. I haven't got time. No. Can I tell you? It's so easy. And this is not, I'm saying it out of so much humility.
Okay.
It's so easy. Yeah. It's about listening and doing. If you stay in God's will, it's listen and do, then it's such a natural flow. It's at the end of the day, you actually come and think, what I'm going to do the rest of the day. It's so natural. We think we've got to do all these many things and all these plans. No, it's just listen and do. Then you've got more than enough time to sit in the glory. And that's why we must remember, you and I can't save the world. God's got many people there to help and assist them. But you must have that purpose thing for yourself. What is my duty? What's across my pathway for the day? And don't worry about, who's going to look after Etienne? Who's going to look after David? Who's going to look after Wanda or Andrew, whatever. Don't worry. God appointed a person for every other person.
Yeah. Okay.
You see, that's where we go wrong. We try and be so many things for other people, and we miss on our own glory and God's plan.
Okay. So
So
not
you
having a
just
savior
draw boundaries.
complex.
Yeah, and draw boundaries, and don't be shy to say no. We became so religious, and when somebody asks us, yes, yes, oh yeah, okay, fine, yes, 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 and we just yes, and we don't do it at the end. And that's
Oh,
why
that's my
don't
problem.
try that. Yeah, no, don't do it. Melissa, you're gonna burn yourself out, and you must know a burnt out Melissa is worth nothing for the kingdom. That's a reality. A burned out Etienne is worth nothing for the kingdom, because we tell the people about our amazing God and the glory and the good times we have, but we burned out. The two doesn't gel together. So we as Christians must learn how to say no. And why? Because I'm so sorry, Melissa or David, whoever, this is not my portion, what the Lord gives me today, and I just want to stay in His will. That's the only thing that matters.
Yep. So, Melissa, I just want to honor you for, I know what time it is where you are. It's probably, if you could tell me, it's probably about what, midnight, after midnight in the States where you are. So
It's 12:30.
I just want to honor you for staying online and listening to Etienne as well, because that you'll receive massive